Did you know that a man in 19th century China claimed to be the brother of Jesus Christ and led a rebellion that would go on to claim the lives of millions? This is the story of Xiuquan, the self-proclaimed heavenly king who shook the foundations of the Qing Dynasty and almost toppled the entire imperial system. Welcome to History and Curiosities. Today, we're diving into the fascinating and tumultuous life of the man who declared himself the brother of Jesus and led the infamous Taiping Rebellion. Xiuquan was born in 1814 in the southern Chinese province of Guangdong into a poor peasant family. From a young age, he displayed an exceptional talent for academics, particularly in classical Chinese literature. His ambition was to pass the imperial civil service exams, which were a gateway to the elite bureaucracy of the Qing Empire. If he succeeded, he could rise out of poverty and serve in the emperor's government, perhaps even joining the highest echelons of power. But like so many ambitious scholars of his time, Hong faced a brutal reality. The exams were notoriously difficult, and the odds of passing were slim. In fact, less than 1% of all candidates ever succeeded. And after several failed attempts, Hong found himself in despair. In 1837, after failing the exams for the third time, Hong suffered a breakdown. For days, he lay in a feverish coma, hallucinating feverishly about strange visions. In these fever dreams, Hong claimed he was taken to heaven, where he met a divine figure who revealed a cosmic struggle between the forces of good and evil. His father, this divine being said, was God himself, and Hong's older brother was none other than Jesus Christ. Together, they were destined to rid the world of demons, evil forces that were destroying humanity. When Hong awoke from his trance-like state, he was convinced that these visions were not just hallucinations, they were divine revelations. He believed that he was chosen to fulfill a grand mission on Earth, but to his family, this seemed like madness. They watched in confusion and concern as Hong began to speak of his heavenly adventures, writing down what he claimed were messages from God, including the poems and proclamations he had composed during his fever. But it wasn't until 1843 that Hong's path would take a dramatic turn. Around this time, Hong came into contact with Christian missionaries who were spreading pamphlets about Jesus Christ in southern China. Hong eagerly devoured these pamphlets, and soon he came to a startling realization. The divine figure he had seen in his visions, the Father, was not just some abstract God, but the Christian God, and Jesus, the older brother, was no mere prophet, but his literal sibling. In his mind, this meant only one thing. Xiuquan was the younger brother of Jesus Christ himself, sent to Earth to continue his mission. And in this divine revelation, Hong also saw a calling to cleanse China of its moral decay and create a new heavenly kingdom, a utopia free of demons and corruption. Hong's message was radical and deeply appealing, especially to the disenfranchised. He preached a form of Christianity mixed with his own unique interpretations, including an early form of communism. Hong advocated for communal property, a rejection of the existing feudal order, and a society where everyone would be equal in the eyes of God. His ideas, combined with promises of land, wealth, and a better life, struck a chord with many, particularly the Hakka people, a marginalized ethnic group that had long been oppressed in southern China. As his following grew, Hong's message spread like wildfire. He and his followers, known as the God Worshippers, began organizing themselves into a formidable political and military force. They became known as the Taiping movement, and in 1850, they declared the formation of the Taiping Heavenly Kingdom. At the heart of the Taiping Rebellion was Hong's absolute authority. He was not just a religious leader, but a political and military one. He styled himself as the Heavenly King, a divine ruler who would bring peace to the world by overthrowing the corrupt Qing Dynasty. Hong's forces rapidly grew, and by 1851, they numbered in the tens of thousands. The Taiping army swept across southern China, capturing major cities and towns, including Nanjing, which became the capital of the Taiping Heavenly Kingdom. Here, Hong implemented a strict set of religious and social laws which banned opium, prostitution, foot-binding, and even the eating of certain foods. His followers, who had been promised a new, purer society, were forced to live under an incredibly rigid regime. There were no personal possessions, all land was to be shared equally, and men and women were to live separately in order to prevent sinful behavior. As the movement expanded, so too did Hong's paranoia and authoritarian control. He declared that all Chinese men and women were to follow his strict moral code, and any disobedience was punishable by death. Those who didn't conform to his vision were brutally punished, including executions for minor infractions like singing immoral songs. Despite his harsh rule, the Taiping forces continued to grow, and by 1853, Hong's army had taken control of large portions of southern China, numbering over 1 million followers. The Qing government, terrified of this rapidly expanding threat, struggled to mount a coherent response. But the rebellion was not without its flaws. While Hong claimed divine authority, the internal workings of the Taiping government were far less divine. Corruption, mismanagement, and infighting among the Taiping leadership became rampant. Hong, who increasingly withdrew from political affairs, delegated much of the administration to his generals. However, these men often disagreed on strategy, which weakened the movement. By 1856, the Taiping forces began to lose momentum. Despite some early victories, they failed to capture Beijing and, more importantly, could not maintain the support of the Chinese population in the long term. The Qing government, with the help of Western powers, began to regain control, and the Taiping forces were forced into a defensive position. As the Qing forces, bolstered by European and American military support, began to push back, the Taiping Heavenly Kingdom started to unravel. Hong Xiuquan, once a divine leader, became a shadow of his former self. His health deteriorated, and he withdrew even further into his own world. In 1864, Hong died under mysterious circumstances. Some say he was poisoned, others believe he took his own life. His death marked the beginning of the end for the Taiping movement. Within months, Nanjing fell to the Qing forces, and the rebellion was crushed. Thousands of Taiping loyalists were massacred, and the leaders of the movement were executed. Hong's son, who was briefly declared the new king of heaven, was also killed, and the movement's hopes of establishing a heavenly kingdom were dashed forever. The Taiping Rebellion remains one of the bloodiest civil wars in history, with estimates of the death toll ranging from 20 million to 30 million people. In the end, Hong Xiuquan's dream of a heavenly kingdom was shattered by his own flaws, the forces of the Qing Empire, and the brutal realities of war. But his story is not one easily forgotten. He was a man who believed he was destined to change the world, a self-proclaimed brother of Jesus Christ who led an army of millions, only to fall victim to the very same corruption and violence he had set out to destroy.